Hey, what's up? Christian here for Kriscoart. This one's going to be interesting because as filmmakers, the most important thing, aside from creating the art that you're aspiring to do, is to actually put it out there to create that engagement, to create that portfolio and showcasing it in a way that is elegant and functional. So, of course, I don't have to tell you how important it is to have your work in a way that represents your brand, in a way that represents you as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, and that's why having a website is so important. Partnered with Wix, which is the website that I've been using since forever, like seriously forever. Like in college, my very first website that I built was on Wix, and ever since then I've just been kind of learning, fine-tuning, and just improving the overall design. If you are using Wix, that is great. That is personally what I choose, but hopefully you can walk away from this video with just tips overall on web design and what you can do as a filmmaker to get your work out there in the best way possible to get more jobs. And by the way, I quickly want to interject and just say up front that I am not a professional web designer. That is not what I do. I am a film director. I'm more into editing and DPing and lights. So web design was kind of like a new thing for me, but some of the overall ideas when it comes to composition, when it comes to, you know, presenting visually something, I think there's a lot of parallels and there's a lot in common. So to me, it's really fun and I've been trying to learn as much as I can. So this is just me resharing what I think is useful for building a website for filmmakers specifically. So if I go to my website, kriscoart.com, you can see that it loads up with my logo first and it's animated. And this is actually a GIF, which I know they were super overused at one point in a really terrible way, a really like MySpacey type of way, but GIFs have actually gotten pretty good. So if you have a short enough GIF in terms of frame rate and duration, you can actually make it pretty detailed, and it could be an animation that really expands the feel of your website. Moving past that, we have the motto at the bottom here that was animated individually. So each one of these words is its individual image that has a delay animation. Most elements within Wix you can actually animate and pick from different types of animations and range of motions, and you can customize that animation in terms of how long it plays out. And you can also set a delay for the animation so that it doesn't start right away, but rather you can make it start 0.2 seconds later, a full second later. And just as it was in the case in the beginning here with these three letters, you can create a delay which allows these elements to kind of animate in a sequence. Right below that, we have a Wix gallery. So this is a gallery of images that I've used to showcase the posters of the most recent short films. And as you'll see later on in this video, galleries can take many shapes and can have so many different uses. So this is just one of the many ways of using them. Now, right below that, we start having these slides that have this nice 3D effect, which we'll talk about very soon. We have some animations here at the bottom. We have another GIF over here of just this star spinning, just to bring some extra attention to the product here. It has its own button, and yeah, we have this nice page break at the bottom here, which allows us to transition back to a solid black, and we'll talk about how to set this up. This is something that visually I love doing. It really makes it feel 3D. But this is not the only effect that is present in these strips or these sort of slides. In the beginning here, as you saw the background video, once we scroll past it, it actually zooms in, and this becomes more noticeable if I do it super fast back and forth. You can see how the video actually is scaling up. So again, this is a design choice that fits in with the brand of what this website is about. We are entering the demo reel or these different scenes, and that is all of the content that populates the rest of the pages. So that was just a quick look at what a finished product could be like. Now, of course, to me, my website is never finished because I'm always updating it. I hope that gives a sense of what is possible, what you can do. But before jumping into all of that, what I really like to do in really any project is to start with pen and paper and get some sketches down so that I can have an overall plan and start playing around with some ideas so that by the time I'm in the editor, I have a more cohesive and a clear-cut plan so I can just get to work and get what I want done. So let's take a look at that. In order to not get stuck even before starting, I just separate everything out in different stages, with the first ones being very rough, very disorganized, very random and chaotic, and it's just whatever comes to mind, putting it on paper just by association with what makes sense for your brand and what you would want to show on your website. And then from there, from the first version to then the second version to then really adjusting and evolving and creating different iterations of that page that you have in mind will really help you later. And it's a really great process of letting a bunch of ideas out, filtering the good ones from the bad, and really just having fun and playing with them with the freedom of just pen and paper and just trying things out and seeing what makes sense. So that helps a ton. It's just a great way to unleash some ideas on paper, just really not be afraid of messing things up or going through too many steps of having to upload an image and placing it and seeing where it goes. Because a lot of times a blank page, when you are starting to commit actions, can be a little bit overwhelming, can be a little daunting at first. So to me, this is just an easier way to release and have a phase where I can have more of a free flow of ideas and then translate those ideas that I've worked out on paper onto the Wix builder. The best websites are the truest reflection to the personality of the brand. So sometimes that can also mean to go really loud and big with fonts, but also you can focus it in and go small and detailed. But that range is yours to find out. And usually, unless there's some themes or some exceptions that you want to navigate, you want to keep it consistent throughout your website. So even having something like a color palette or having certain fonts that you use recurrently is a great thing to have on your website. And Wix actually incorporates these ideas in how you set your web page up. You in fact do have a color palette of colors that you can pick that will essentially dictate all of the default colors of the media that you start to bring into your website. All of this can be a lot to establish right off the bat, and especially if this is your own first website that you're designing. So my suggestion is to get a sense of what's out there, browse through different websites. There's even several websites that host awards for websites, and that is a great way to get inspired. Also, something I should have mentioned from the beginning, you don't have to start with a blank canvas every time with Wix. That's what I choose to do because I really want it to be custom made to exactly what I had on paper. But if you want to get inspired or even edit one of the many templates that they have, you can also do that. And a lot of them are set up for photographers, for filmmakers already. So you can go into that and customize that instead of having to do everything from scratch, get stuck and get overwhelmed and not make your website. In terms of style and what you're picking for your website, navigation also has its own style, its own flow, and it can take many different shapes depending on what you want. In Wix, for example, you can spread your website to include a lot in a landing page and in sort of a one-pager and organize things vertically that way, or you can link to several different pages for each category or whatever, or you can even stay in the same page but activate Lightboxes that allows you to access more content and more information in the form of a pop-up. So we'll look at these individual tools right now, but I just wanted to point out these things because that is the mindset that you have to start with. And of course, don't forget that your website will also be mobile. So all these things have to also look good on a mobile phone. And when you are within Wix, you can create and edit both a desktop version and a mobile version of your website, which is really cool. So you can make sure that you are optimized and ready to go no matter what device is viewing your website. So let's apply that into Wix. Let's create a header that can actually draw people in that interesting way. And let's take advantage of PNG images and let's see what kind of nice presentation we can create at the very top of the page, which is very important as it's the first thing that usually people see when they click onto a page. So let's do that. So all right, here we are in the editor. This is what it looks like within the Wix platform when you're building your website. So real quick, just to start from scratch, I'm actually gonna add a new page to my website so that we can start playing from there. And I can go to the toolbar on my left-hand side. And this is pretty much where you'll find all the elements that you can insert into your page, whether they come directly from the Wix builder or from the marketplace, which allows you to expand the website even further with plugins and other capabilities. Also here, you can manage the menus. And in here, I can find all of my pages. I can manage them in a menu, rename them, change the settings and all that. You can also find types of pages such as member pages or store pages. And then finally, another one that I use a lot is Lightboxes. This is where you can find all the Lightboxes that you create. So with all that being said, I'm gonna go back to the main site menu pages and I'm gonna create a new page. You can see that in my case, it's actually auto-populating the page with some elements already. So we have a header made with an icon button, and we have a footer with certain links and social media icons. So this is just a preset that I've created for my website, since most new pages that I make typically need this type of format. So that is something that down the road you can also do for your own website so that it can speed up the process, since in a sense you already have your own pre-made template every time you start a new page, so you don't have to start from scratch. As you're seeing on screen, I'm just clicking around these elements just to show you the options that you have for each part, such as the footer or the header. You can really customize how it feels, how it looks, and how it interacts. But that is not what we're here to do today. So what I'm going to do is actually get rid of all these elements. And to do that, I'm going to go under my menu toolbar, and I'm just going to select the more options button for that menu page. And in there, I can go under settings and then change the layout. And then from there, I can just get rid of the header and the footer. So this gives us a nice blank page to start with, which is great. So the next thing that I'm going to do is actually go back to the toolbar on the left-hand side. And in here, we're going to select a strip. Now, as you can see here, as I'm scrolling down, there's a lot of templates, a lot of pre-made, really good strips that you can add that can showcase a product, a team, or just a lot of things that really do come in handy that are pre-designed and ready to drop in. We're just going to add a strip that only has an image and nothing else. And then we're just going to build it up from there. Once a strip is added to the website, of course, you can customize it. You can choose whether to stretch it full screen to the full tab size or just to fully stretch to cover the main body of the page. And then I'm going to click on the change background button. And here we're presented with 3 options. So color, image, or video. I'm going to select image in this case, and this is going to open up my file manager in Wix, pretty much where I've uploaded all of my media. And in there, I'm just going to pick an interesting background. And the cool thing about all these options is that within all of them, they're fully customizable. So even for images and videos, you can add things like overlays and several types of effects, which are actually really cool when it comes to building a website that feels dynamic. And for the background of this strip, I'm actually going to pick the parallax effect. So the parallax effect, as you can tell, I like this effect a lot. It's pretty much all over my website, but in a way, it really ties in well with what I am trying to communicate with my website, which is showing portfolio work, which is showing these worlds that are created. And the best way to kind of present that in an appealing way is to almost give this looking into a window effect, which is what the parallax effect is on web pages, to where essentially something appears to be scrolling at a certain speed in the foreground, and you have the background that is a little bit more distant that can be, revealed and moved at a different speed when you're scrolling, and that's that parallax effect, which is really cool. Again, that window looking into a world type of feel that it gives, I'm a fan of. So that's why I apply it when I'm showcasing new projects or new videos. So all we have to do now is just add some text, maybe add a title and a way to link to the homepage or to a menu. So instead of using a regular menu, what I like to do is kind of keep things minimal. So I use an icon element instead. And icons are essentially just an image element, but that can have different options of an image when it's displayed, when you're hovering over it, and when it is clicked. So again, things like that, instead of just adding an image with a hyperlink or just a button, this makes it feel a little bit more rich and a little bit more layered. So for this icon element, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my logo as just a regular display image. Then once it's hovering, I actually created a version of the logo that has a bit of a blur. And then thirdly, once the logo is clicked, it actually has a bit of a glow, like as if it was selected. And the nice thing is that I can actually choose to fade in between these different versions of this image and apply different types of transitions, which makes everything come together even better. And it's a little detail, but again, I really like how this looks and how it fits with the style. So what I'm going to do past this point, since I want to make sure that people can quickly access this at all times, no matter how far down they've scrolled, I want to actually pin this item to the screen. And what this does is essentially what we need it to do right now, which is to stay fixed and it does not move with the rest of the page. And once you press it, you can actually select where in the screen you want to put it, in the top right corner, top left corner, wherever. And you can also offset it and, really fit it to exactly where you need it to be. And then after that, you can preview your page and you can see that that element is now sticking and you don't lose it out of sight. And it is always there if you need it. We're already at a pretty good point. I mean, we've pretty much already finished a header and that feels already pretty dynamic. Now we're going to take it a step further and I want to show you the power of PNG images that actually have a transparent background and how you can use them to up the visual elements of your website. So what I'm going to do, just as an example, I'm going to import this PNG image that I created. And essentially what I did is I took this matte painting that I did and I took just a series of the TV screens and I kind of created this fake foreground element of what is in the scene of that photo. You can just use whatever picture you're using for your background in a parallax effect and then just pick something from it or create new elements that could be something that makes sense as a foreground element in that picture. And if you make that as its own PNG image and you place that right at the bottom of the strip and right where the page starts, you can actually get this really nice seamless transition into a solid color. But of course, this is one way of using PNG images and parallax effects. This is how I like to do it, but you can customize it, combine it, and do all kinds of things with just these tools. Now, next up, we're going to look at Lightboxes. And essentially what these are pop-ups or just something that appears on screen in the same web page. So you're not leaving that page. It's not loading a different page, but rather this is just a visual element that appears. And this can be really handy to maybe promote something, maybe a discount code or something like that. Or if you want it to be less of a pop-up, and you can even get creative. And like we'll see later on, you can link a gallery photo to when it is clicked to open up a lightbox. And the fun thing is that within Lightboxes, they're essentially a holder for any other element that you want from the Wix builder. And once you're happy with all the changes made to your lightbox, you can exit the lightbox mode, go back to editing your page that you were doing. And if you want to go back to that lightbox, you just need to select the drop-down menu at the very top. And if you scroll down to the bottom past your pages, you can find your lightbox. And once you click it, you'll be back in lightbox mode and you can make changes. You can also access this from your pages menu on your toolbar. And there we can also rename that lightbox so that we can recognize it better. Now, I do want to change some settings in the lightbox, and I want to point out that it's very easy to click on other elements that are inside the lightbox, but not the lightbox itself. So make sure you're clicking on the lightbox to actually access the lightbox settings and not whatever content's in front of it. In there, under settings, I will tell Wix to not display this lightbox automatically on all pages, because instead we want to set this up to be triggered by a link instead. And of course, you can change the design, you can change where this element is placed, as well as customizing other things like the background, and you get the point. You can really do a lot even within the area of a lightbox. So now, just to show you how you can link to a lightbox, I'm going to quickly drag in a button, and in there I can actually click on the link button, and instead of selecting a page to link to, I can actually select a lightbox. So I can find the one that we just renamed and created, and now if I preview this and I click on the button, the lightbox appears. So you can see that you can do a lot with just this. It essentially allows you to create different layers to each page and access them with, different buttons, different menu items, anything that you can link to, you can open up a lightbox. And it can be really handy in enhancing the navigation of your website without cluttering it too much with too many pages. So as I mentioned, you can trigger a lightbox from an image from a gallery. So let's take a look at how to set up different types of galleries and why they are so useful to not just showcase images, but can be used to showcase previews of videos, previews of whatever it is that you want. And it does so in a visually interesting way, since you can add different effects on hover that can blur the images or darken them, or even add the title and the description of that image to appear when your cursor is hovering. So these are all cool options to build out a really solid portfolio or showcase of work. As a filmmaker, I want to keep things very visual. So to me, the more images and less text, the better. And with this element, we can change the layout to a ton of different options. And in the settings here, this is actually where we're going to establish what action takes place when one of those images in that gallery is clicked. So in our case, we want a link to open, since we want a link to our lightbox. There's a few other settings here at the bottom. You can also change other details such as the overlay color, the opacity of it, and other things that happen when you're hovering over these individual images. So super handy. But now to link the image that we want to the lightbox, we have to go under the Manage Media button, and in there we can upload our own images, we can choose what is displayed. But what I care about showing you right now is the linking part. So all we need to do is just assign that link to that image, and from there we can find and select the lightbox that we want. And just like that, in preview mode, we can see that if we click on that image, the lightbox appears. And of course, this is one of many ways of using Wix galleries. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, of course, I'm skipping over a ton of stuff, but because I can't show it all, what I do think is important is linking your other social media platforms and the rest of your content to your main website, and actually do it in a way that is hassle-free, that you don't have to constantly update manually. And Wix does this for you in a really hassle-free way, and it's honestly great. It just works. And that goes for videos on YouTube. You can link playlists that actually get updated as you update that playlist on YouTube, and you can do the same for Instagram as well. Now, to add a live Instagram feed, you have to go to the Add Apps button of the toolbar, and from there, you can search for Instagram and add that to your site. Once you've added it, you have to connect your Instagram and authorize Wix to access your Instagram. And then once you've done that, you can customize the layout in which your posts are displayed, fine-tune details like the amount of rows per post or how many columns you want. And then of course, you can modify all other visual aspects such as the style of the button, the colors, and all that good stuff. And just like that, you have your own Instagram linked onto your webpage. And this, alongside with everything else that you saw, like the other YouTube videos, is updated without me having to do anything. So as soon as it happens on Instagram and YouTube, it shows up on the website, which is really great. I hope that these elements can start to form this collage of what it is to build a website. It's so important to have social media presence and all of that, but at the end of the day, you also want to build your own platform so that you can use those tools to drive traffic to your main hub, your website. Having a website, especially now, like I said, is vital. But with that being said, hope I didn't get too dramatic there in the end, but I'm really excited to be sharing these tips with you, and I'll probably share more videos if you guys want to of how I'm going to continue to evolve my website. And that is something that you should also do, because as your skills and your personal assets grow with you as a filmmaker, so should your website to represent that journey. You might make some decisions early on graphically that might seem cool, but then they might seem a little bit too over the top later on and you start to pull back. So once you do create your website in Wix, I do encourage you to keep it updated, to keep enriching it and let it grow with you. I hope you found this useful, and if you like this video, give it a like, share with a friend that needs a website, and of course, as always, I know this video is a little different than usual, but if you're interested in the filmmaking, editing, VFX, all that good stuff, that's what this channel is here for. Check me out on Instagram, since we're going to be posting a new project very soon that was very intense but a lot of fun, and yeah, I can't wait to share more on that, and that episode will be coming very soon, so subscribe for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you checking along on all these videos and following my journey as a filmmaker. This is part of it, and I hope that you found it useful for yourself as well. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Kriscoart, and I will see you next time.
Rise up, stands up the flame.